Welcome back to Only Talk Sports. We talk sports every single day, or at least we try to. I'm Roach Jeffrey. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Hit that notification bell so you never miss another video. I thought that the Bob Huggins news story in college basketball was going to be the biggest offseason news story when it comes to coaching, but we just got the whopper of a story with Pat Fitzgerald and the Northwestern Wildcats. Pat Fitzgerald has been fired. Something that if you had said 3 years ago, nobody would have thought that you were sane. Pat Fitzgerald was a coach that everybody respected in college football, or at least the vast majority of football fans, even if you were not a Big Ten or Northwestern fan, just for how Pat Fitzgerald was able to take a program, his alma mater even, that has very high academic requirements, and they most of the time do not have a lot of success. Northwestern has had their moments, just like any other football program, of being decent in the past, but they have not been great for the vast majority of their history. But in the last 16 years, Pat Fitzgerald has took Northwestern to a 110 and 101 record, and he's 65 and 76 in the Big Ten, which on paper does not sound that great. Most schools would fire a coach that barely has an over 500 record. But again, we're talking about the Northwestern Wildcats. It's a completely different animal trying to coach a team like that with such high academic requirements, and a school that just does not have a lot of history in college football. And despite barely having an over 500 record and a losing record in conference play, Pat Fitzgerald still did a great job overall with the program. He built them over time, and he was starting to alternate good years and bad years. He would take them to a top 25 finish, and then the next year they had a lot of struggles. They even had the joke of Northwestern, the even years they were good, the odd years they were bad. 2018 and 2020 with Clayton Thorson and Peyton Ramsey at quarterback, Northwestern was really good. But then they also had the down years as well in 2019 and 2021. That carried over to 2022, and there were more people starting to say, is Pat Fitzgerald on the hot seat? Was he possibly going to be fired? But that was for his coaching on the field and the fact that he had not had success in the last 2 years. Some of that was starting to crop up with Pat Fitzgerald. There were a little bit of rumblings from people about whether his job was safe. But Pat Fitzgerald has just been fired, and it has nothing to do with the on-the-field success. Right now, this is the state of the Northwestern football program. Maybe that's a little bit dramatic, but it is bad news for the Wildcats because of the fact they're already a program that has a lot of struggles to have success. And you've got Pat Fitzgerald, a guy that is coaching his alma mater, that cares about the football team, that has taken the Wildcats to success they have not reached hardly ever in their history. And now these breaking news stories that have happened, the hazing incidences that have gone on, there's been a lot of stuff with the players in situations that are not to be seen in front of the public eye. There's a lot of stuff that should not have happened in the program, and a lot of people are saying that Pat Fitzgerald knew about this, and possibly other people with the Northwestern program as well. I'm not going to speculate, say the athletic director knew anything about it. I'm not going to say anything like that on anybody else knowing about it, but there's a lot of speculation with Northwestern right now. There's even some stories coming out about the baseball team. Right now, Northwestern is just on fire with the amount of news stories that are blowing around, and it's getting worse and worse. It's spreading all over the place, and it does not seem to be slowing down anytime soon. The basketball team hasn't taken a hit yet, and hopefully for their sake, no news story comes out there as well. But that's not all with Northwestern. You also have some allegations back in the 2000s of players saying that there was a lot of derogatory remarks made towards certain players, and that was not to be tolerated as well. And obviously with this incident with the hazing going on, some of those players felt that they were going to be able to speak up about what happened 15 years ago, and they're just basically saying all around that Northwestern, under Pat Fitzgerald, was allowing this to happen, and they knew about it, and they were not stopping it. So Pat Fitzgerald has been fired. It's very unfortunate for Northwestern, because where are they going to go from here? They're already most of the time a bottom dweller team in the Big Ten, and now you're adding USC and UCLA, and you're getting the TV contract money, so Northwestern will have that, but some teams got to be at the bottom of the Big Ten, and it looks like Northwestern is going to be that team unless you can get a guy like Dave Clawson, maybe a Matt Campbell, somebody like that to coach your program. Northwestern's probably going to be at the bottom of the Big Ten for years to come. David Braun, he is the defensive coordinator for Northwestern. He's presumably is being announced to be the new interim head coach for Northwestern. He's going to have to find a way to stabilize this. I don't know if he's going to be able to give Northwestern a shot to compete in the Big Ten next year. Probably 3-9 is maybe the best that they can do, unfortunately, next season. But the very least that David Braun can do is just stabilize Northwestern as best that he can, and be able to help the program clean some of this stuff out, because they don't need that in their program. They got to get this behind them and move on to the future and hire a new head coach that hopefully will be able to take Northwestern back to the success that Pat Fitzgerald had for the Wildcats on the field. But it's a sad news story. You've got all this stuff going on again, like with Bob Huggins in basketball. Is he going to get his job back for completely different incidences that are going on his resignation? And then he's saying he didn't resign and he wants his job back, and a lot of people are wondering whether he should get his job back or not. And again, it's completely different incidences what he did than what's going on here with Northwestern and Pat Fitzgerald. But it really stinks for Northwestern and Pat Fitzgerald, because Pat Fitzgerald was such a respected and well-liked head coach, and now all that's just thrown out the window with all these news stories and allegations going against the program. We're going to have to get more facts and information before we can completely lay all the blame on Pat Fitzgerald. Maybe he didn't know about all this stuff, and if that's the case, maybe he'll be able to get a new head coaching job in the future, like other coaches that have had issues in the past, like a Hugh Freeze, where he got a new head coaching job as well. Maybe all is not lost for Pat Fitzgerald and Northwestern. Maybe their next head coach that they do hire will actually be able to turn their program around and maybe even make them better than they were under Pat Fitzgerald. So maybe there can be some positive light at the end of the tunnel. But the one thing that does need to be said is that the hazing and the other incidences of derogatory stuff being said to players on the Northwestern roster does not need to happen in the future. They need to clean that out, and hopefully for Pat Fitzgerald's sake and Northwestern, they can both move on from this and be better in the future as a program and as a person, and Northwestern can possibly move on from this and have more success in the future, because right now it is a complete dumpster fire in Evanston, Illinois, and they've got a lot to fix to clean out the Northwestern football program and possibly some of their other athletic programs as well. Subscribe to the channel if you like sports content. Like this video down below. Comment down below what you think about Pat Fitzgerald getting fired for all the allegations that have come out recently with the Northwestern Wildcats program, and whether you think that Northwestern can move on in a positive light from here and hire a new head coach that could potentially help the Wildcats get back on track. Follow me on Twitter as well. Link is in the description, and I'll see you next time.